In this video I'm going to show you how to take a vector logo like this shown in Illustrator and export it in a format that will work as splines in Cinema 4D. So the first thing you want to do is take your artwork here in Illustrator, and I have 3 different studio logos here. I'm going to take this first one and I'm going to copy it, Command C, and just make a new file. File new, set it to 1000 pixels by 1000 pixels, and just paste it in here. So it's shown as a group on one layer, and I'm going to bring it up here into the corner and just use my transform tool to assign its position to 0, 0. So right up here in the top left of my document, and then I'm going to change the artboard size to fit artwork bounds. So that's just making the artboard smaller to fit what I have in the file. And so this step requires that you save a version of this file that will work in Cinema. And so I'm going to pick where I want it and save it in this folder. I'm going to give it this name because I'm going to save it in a slightly different version of Illustrator format. And when I click save, it'll ask me what version do I want to save as. So by default, it's going to say whatever the latest version of Illustrator is, or the latest file format of Illustrator that you are running. It'll say that version here. I'm going to go back in time and save it as Illustrator 8. And this has to do with the importer in Cinema 4D. It doesn't support some of the newer file formats. So it's a safe bet to just always use Illustrator 8 because of how it saves it. So now that I have it saved, I'm going to import it into Cinema 4D here. So you want to go, this is a new document, you want to go up to File, Merge Objects, and pick your file that you just saved and say Open. And then there's an importer here, and by default this might be a smaller scale, like 1. I'm going to multiply this by a factor of 10 to scale it up. If you import it at scale of 1, it's going to be a lot smaller when you bring it in. So leave Connect Splines checked, and then Group Splines is not available to check. So I'll say OK, and there's my logo. So it brought the splines in, or brought the vector paths in as splines. And if I go up here to my object, my null object, I can look at the components. So under here, I have paths for each shape that's in the file. And these paths are splines, like I said, and these are spline tools if you were to come in here and make any sort of splines manually. Splines are basically the same as a path in Illustrator, so you could think about it that way. And so once I have it in here, I can do things like select all the pieces, or pick my top level object and apply an extrude and drop this into the extrude object. And if I go back to my perspective view, it's not extruding yet because I need to go over here and click hierarchical, and then that applies the extrude to every element in the hierarchy. So then I can adjust the depth in this case to whatever I want. Also, if we look at one of the paths, this first path right here, the symbol, I can look at the scale of it down here. It shows 34.6, 35.3, and if I toggle back over to Illustrator and zoom in and hone in on that, it will show, changing this to centimeters, it will show 3.46, 3.53 for the width and the height. And this is smaller again. Remember, over here we imported and multiplied it by a factor of 10. So the size right here is reflecting that. So with that, you should be able to take something from Illustrator into Cinema and animate it or render it.